They lit up the silver screen, captured our hearts, and became household names before they were even old enough to drive. We watched them grow up in theaters and living rooms, thinking we knew them. We thought they had it all: money, fame, and a perfect life. But then, the cameras stopped rolling, and just like that, they were gone. Some walked away to find peace in quiet villages. Some built empires behind the scenes, but others weren't so lucky. For many, the end of childhood stardom meant drug scandals, tragic accidents, and dark secrets that were hidden for decades. What really happens when the world stops watching? The stories you are about to hear are not just about fame, they are about survival. Some of these endings will warm your heart, but others are going to break it. Here is the truth behind the Hollywood disappearances you will never forget. Our first story is about the girl who saved a studio and then vanished into thin air, Deanna Durbin. In the 1930s, she was the biggest thing in movies. She had a voice that could melt hearts and box office numbers that literally saved Universal Studios from going bankrupt. She was the teenage idol, the second highest paid woman in America, right behind Bette Davis. Millions of people adored her. But at the height of her power, Deanna did something shocking. She quit. She didn't have a breakdown. She didn't get fired. She just finished her last film at age 27 and walked away. She moved to a small village in France and never looked back. For 60 years, she turned down every interview and every pile of money they threw at her. She simply said, "I was never happy in Hollywood." She refused to be a product anymore. Deanna Durbin chose to leave on her own terms, but the next star, Brandon DeWilde, never got that choice. You might remember him as the little boy with the blonde hair in the classic Western, Shane. He delivered that heartbreaking line, "Shane, come back," and earned an Oscar nomination at just 11 years old. Critics called him a genius. As he grew up, he actually kept working. He starred in HUD with Paul Newman, and it looked like he was going to be a massive adult star. He was conquering the industry. But in July 1972, tragedy struck. Brandon was driving near Denver when he got into a brutal car accident. In a split second, he was gone. He was only 30 years old. There was no scandal, just a cruel twist of fate that stole one of the most promising actors of his generation. Brandon was taken by an accident, but our next star, Bobby Driscoll, was destroyed by the industry itself. He was the golden child of Disney. He was the voice of Peter Pan and the star of Treasure Island. He was the first kid ever to get a contract with the studio. He even won a special Oscar at age 12. But then, puberty hit. His voice changed, and he got acne. Suddenly, the studio didn't want him. Disney dropped him like a hot potato. By 16, he was labeled washed up. Bobby spiraled into hard drugs and got arrested multiple times. He tried to get clean, but Hollywood had closed its doors. He disappeared into the shadows of New York City. In 1968, two kids playing in an abandoned building found a body. No one knew who he was, so he was buried in a grave for the poor. It took 2 years for fingerprints to confirm the truth. It was Peter Pan himself, dead at 31. He died alone and forgotten, a brutal warning of how fast the spotlight can fade. Bobby Driscoll's story was a nightmare, but our next star managed to wake up before it was too late. Her name was Margaret O'Brien. If you saw Meet Me in St. Louis, you remember her. She was the little girl who could cry on command and steal scenes from legends like Judy Garland. At just 7 years old, Margaret was an emotional powerhouse. She was so good, she even won a special Oscar. But Hollywood is fickle. As Margaret grew into a teenager, the studios didn't know what to do with her. The roles stopped coming. But unlike so many others who desperately tried to cling to the spotlight, Margaret made a brave choice. She simply walked away. She didn't have a public meltdown. She didn't get arrested. She just traded the movie scripts for a normal life. She got married, raised a family, and lived quietly. Today, at 87 years old, she is still with us, gracious, happy, and scandal-free. She proved that sometimes the best way to win the Hollywood game is to stop playing. Margaret found peace by leaving the industry, and so did the next boy on our list, Claude Jarman Jr., who traded his trophies for textbooks. At 12 years old, Claude stunned the world in The Yearling. His performance was so raw and real that he won an Academy Award. He was the boy every studio wanted. But Claude was smart. He saw the trap before he fell into it. Instead of chasing fading fame, he packed his bags and went back to Tennessee to finish high school. While other actors were fighting for roles, Claude was studying at Vanderbilt University and serving in the U.S. Navy. He eventually returned to the film world, not as a star, but as a boss, running the San Francisco International Film Festival. He built a real life, full of substance rather than just style. Claude passed away recently on January 12, 2025, at the age of 90. He didn't disappear into tragedy, he disappeared into wisdom. Claude managed to build a stable life, but the next star saw his world crumble the moment he lost his father. This is the tragic story of Scotty Beckett. With his sideways cap and that mischievous grin, Scotty was the standout star of the Little Rascals. He was charming and funny, and he transitioned easily into big movies, playing the younger versions of major stars. It looked like he was going to make it big, but when Scotty was 14, his father died, and the grief was too much to handle. That loss started a dark spiral. By his late teens, the cute kid America loved was gone, replaced by a young man struggling with pills and alcohol. The 1950s were brutal for him. His marriages failed. He got arrested, and the studios turned their backs. In 1968, after being beaten up in a mysterious attack, he checked into a nursing home. 2 days later, he was found dead from an overdose. He was just 38 years old. While Scotty lost everything, our next star, Freddie Bartholomew, had everything stolen from him by the people who should have protected him. In the 1930s, Freddie was cinema royalty. He was the perfect English gentleman in movies like David Copperfield. He was one of the highest-paid children on the planet, earning thousands of dollars a week during the Great Depression. But his real-life drama was worse than any movie script. His long-lost parents suddenly showed up, not because they missed him, but because they wanted control of his massive fortune. The court battles were vicious and drained his bank account. By the time he was 14, MGM dropped him. But Freddie didn't let bitterness destroy him. He joined the military and then started over from the bottom. He got a job in advertising and worked his way up to become a successful television executive. When he died in 1992, many of his co-workers knew him just as Fred from The Office, having no idea he was once the most famous boy in the world. Freddie fought for his money in court, but the next star, Jackie Coogan, faced a thief right inside his own home. Jackie was Hollywood's very first child megastar. Discovered by Charlie Chaplin, he broke hearts in the silent classic The Kid and became an overnight sensation. His face was on everything from lunchboxes to peanut butter jars. By the time he was 10 years old, he had earned over $4 million. That was a fortune back then. But when Jackie turned 21 and asked for his money, he learned a horrifying truth. It was all gone. His mother and stepfather had spent nearly every penny on mansions, jewelry, and luxury cars. They told him that he was just having fun while they did the work. Jackie sued them, but he didn't get much back. However, his fight changed history. Because of him, California passed the Coogan Law, which protects the money earned by child actors today. Jackie never regained his childhood fame, but years later, he shaved his head and found a new generation of fans as Uncle Fester on The Addams Family. Jackie Coogan changed the laws, but the next star, Shirley Temple, grew up to change the world. Before there was TikTok or Instagram, there was Shirley. With her bouncing curls and dimples, she was the symbol of hope during the Great Depression. She was earning more money than the President of the United States by the time she was 6. No child star has ever been as powerful as her. But Hollywood is cruel to growing girls. As she got older, the box office magic faded and the studio dropped her. Most stars would have crumbled, but Shirley transformed. She retired at 22 and launched a completely new career in politics. She became a real diplomat, serving as the U.S. ambassador to Ghana and Czechoslovakia. She used her charm and intelligence to win over world leaders, just like she used to win over audiences. When people asked her for advice on becoming a child actor, she had a one-word answer: don't. Shirley left Hollywood for the United Nations, but the next boy left the spotlight for a computer screen. His name was Tommy Rettig. In the 1950s, everyone knew him as Jeff, the farm boy with the world's most loyal dog, Lassie. Tommy was a national treasure, loved by millions for his wholesome image. But behind that smile, he felt like a prisoner. He didn't want to grow up on camera. He wanted a real life. At just 14, He shocked everyone by asking to be released from his contract. But freedom wasn't easy. He struggled to find work as an adult actor and got caught up in drug arrests. It looked like a classic Hollywood tragedy. But then, Tommy did something surprising. He discovered he had a talent for technology. He taught himself how to use computers and became a pioneer in database programming. He became a respected expert in the tech world, leaving the fame behind for a quiet, successful life as a software engineer. He proved that there is life after Lassie.